Hey, I'm Cody, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use a free podcast show notes generator to generate show notes for your podcast episodes. The output that you're going to get is something along these lines, where it's a bunch of different summary variations that you can pick from and add to your podcast show notes. You can also get timestamp show notes and titles. So let's dive in. So yeah, the tool that we're using today is called Swell AI. It's a tool that automates writing articles, social posts, show notes, and more for your podcast episodes. It's free to sign up, and you get 2 uploads per month on that free tier. So it's actually useful. All right, so once you click sign up for your accounts, you can you'll then be dropped into this dashboard. So there's a sign up or a link to Swell in the description of this video to make it easier to get here. Once you're in this dashboard, there's a couple different ways that you can upload your podcast episodes. You can either upload them as an MP3, an MP4, an M4A, basically any podcast episode type. Or you can paste in an RSS feed, a YouTube video, or an Apple Podcast URL. So for the Apple Podcast URL, that's typically the fastest. What I mean by that is the actual podcast URL. So once you click into a podcast URL, you would take that, drop that into Swell, click create, and then it will start downloading that podcast. So when it's in downloading, you'll see this downloading in the status section. Once it's moved into transcribing, you'll see this kind of icon spinning wheel. And then once it's succeeded, you'll get an email letting you know that your content has been written and processed. This typically takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And yeah, it handles all that for you. You can then click that link in that email or just come back into Swell. And what you'll be dropped into is for each podcast is something like this. So it has timestamped transcripts, articles, show notes, summaries, and titles. So let's just take a look at all those. So titles, it gives you 10 variations. Summaries, it gives you 3 variations. And then show notes, it gives you timestamps with titles for each of those sections. You also get an article written about each of the podcast episodes. So this is a full-length, detailed article. You can share that article with your content writer if you're trying to get it on your blog and just make it easier. Typically for every 30 minutes of episode or 30 minutes of podcast episode that you upload, it writes about 1,000 to 1,500 words, depending on the length and detail that it goes into. And then the final thing that's included within Swell is you have what we call Swell Chat. So Swell Chat basically allows you to write anything you could imagine about Swell. So this one that we previously did was write a LinkedIn post about an episode. You could also have it or tell it to write a Twitter thread about this podcast episode, and then click create. And it takes about 30 seconds for it to generate that. I'm just going to pause while we wait. All right, it completed that Twitter thread. You can see that thread here. You can also have it, you can make it write it for a longer amount as well. So this did 5, but you could have it say something like write a Twitter thread or write a Twitter thread. Actually, I would say something like detailed Twitter thread about this podcast. Make it as long as possible. And it would basically write a longer version of this. So yeah, that is how to generate podcast show notes for free. Again, you can sign up for Swell for free in the description of this video. There's a link to swellai.com. Cheers.